Perfect. So again, welcome everybody to the Wise Skies Free Astrology series. I am Tiffany Harlick, and I'm the founder of Wise Skies. I'm going to share my screen here so that you can get this slideshow going. We're here today to talk again about the 12th house and the astrology themes of fate and the 12th house. And so this is an analysis that I have done. I welcome your feedback and questions, and I enjoy learning from you too. So if you don't have a copy of your chart, it's totally okay. And if you need a copy of your chart, you can go to astro.com and get a free copy there. And so what we're looking for is going to be what sign is in your 12th house, and that's going to help navigate some clues for you today. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tiffany. I have a master's in health psychology. I have a registered yoga certification. I used to work in corporate for live music events at Austin City Limits Music Festival, Lollapalooza. I worked for Google Fiber. I was the marketing director of Torchies, and that was my background. But then I started working with my gift, which came very early in life for me. This is the gift of psychic mediumship and astrology. I had a teacher tell me if you weren't an astrologer in a past life, you probably won't get the full hang of it this life. And so I just want to put it out there that if you're interested in astrology, maybe it was something that came to you through a past life. My sun and moon are in Scorpio, and I have Sag rising. This is my chart over here. I love beekeeping. I love books. I have a sister company called Spellbound Publishers. We publish metaphysical books. And I'm a backyard herbalist, and I just really enjoy being part of the natural world. So it's a little bit about my vibe. The workshop structure today, we're going to talk about the themes of the 12th house. We're going to talk about Neptune. We're going to talk about some historic figures in the time when Neptune was found, because this gives us insight as to what is going on with the 12th house. And then we're going to go Aries through Pisces and finding your 12th house lessons. And so that's what you can expect over the course of the hour. If you're brand new, of course, the astrology chart has 12 houses. We're talking about this one. I practice Western evolutionary astrology. There are many lineages, many forms: Chinese, Vedic, Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, Roman astrology. I practice Western evolutionary, and the way I look at the chart is there's 12 houses. This is the 12th one. That's what we're paying attention to today. The Piscean themes of the 12th house. So each of the pieces of the chart here are ruled by a certain constellation that's governed by a planet. And the 12th house is governed by the planet Neptune. So Neptune and Pisces are what gives us a flavor of information about the 12th house. And so these are all of the themes that you could explore within your own 12th house journey. We hear about hidden prisons, hidden talents. We hear about the sacrifices and the fantasies with the Piscean themes. We see where we're behind the scenes, where we like to be the director, where we don't like to be out in the limelight, like we like to have a little bit of spy work, even some espionage. The 12th house rules psychology and secrets. It rules prisons. I see a lot of people interested in prison work or volunteering in prison work that have 12th house activity. Neptune in Pisces is that bliss, that at-oneness, that unity with spirit, that unity with source. There's a redemption story, a resurrection story, a regeneration story that is going on. And sometimes with Pisces themes, there's some escapism going on. And so we're trying to get out of here. We're trying to check out with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or a high form of spirituality that takes us on another plane, or all of these things that help us connect outside of the physical and into the unseen or the spiritual realm. The 12th house also rules our dreams and our intuition and our hidden enemies, which often are ourself. So we'll see themes around addiction and illusion and fantasy versus reality in the 12th house. And so the whole point of the message of today's workshop really is about making the unconscious conscious. And so the 12th house, all of these things are kind of hidden, unseen, and when we bring attention to them, we bring our conscious mind to them, it brings an opportunity to grow, it brings an opportunity to up-level and evolve. So the Pisces mythology, Pisces came well before Neptune's discovery. The Babylonians were the first astrologers. They have the mythology of the two fish with their tails tied together with ribbons, and they're escaping the monster Typhon. And so in the Greek astrology, this is Aphrodite and her son Eros, and in the Roman astrology, this is Venus and her son Cupid, but still Pisces is this figure of the two fish, escaping by going underwater. And so you can see the themes and the symbology even with the Pisces mythology long before we discovered Neptune. All of our little faces are blocking my thing. All right, so the birth of Jesus really marked the beginning of the age of Pisces, right? And so you think about Christianity and the symbolism of the fish. You think about the qualities of Jesus, the peaceful teacher, the spiritual element, the miracles, the bringing the unseen into the seen, the faith, the angels, the heavenly music. There's themes around martyrdom. There's themes around a life of total service. And there's themes around being just born from God, from source energy. And I thought it was interesting, too, that the Magi found baby Jesus during a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. It happened in Aries, and so in 7 BC. And so a recent Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happened in December on the solstice of 2020. This was a pivotal time for my company and an interesting time maybe for you too if you want to look back on that. And the next one's in October of Halloween of 2040. So we're just working with these themes of Neptune and Pisces. And just before Neptune is discovered, Franz Mesmer, who was really one of the pioneers in hypnosis, comes on the scene. And this is what's going on at the world stage. He's there. I have all of his old texts. They're really fascinating if you read about mesmerism and hypnosis. And so he's one of the pioneers, one of the forerunners in connecting with the subconscious mind, right? And around this time, we then discover Neptune. And so September 23, 24, 1846 is kind of what we're looking at right now. So 1846, astronomers find the 8th planet orbiting the sun. Neptune has a 165-year orbit. And Neptune was in Pisces during these years I have listed previously, and it's in Pisces right now. So Neptune in Pisces, the dreamer in the sign of the dream. So we think about the Maya and the world that we envision and the world that we imagine together, right? Songs like the theme songs from the Beatles are coming to mind. So Sigmund Freud comes on the world stage around this time. So we've discovered Neptune, we've got a vibe going on around hypnosis, and then Freud comes in with his psychoanalyst. He wrote The Interpretation of Dreams. He studied the psychosexual development, and you guys have a feel for who he is. I just want to bring that to front of mind as we're studying the 12th house. A big quote from Freud is that unexpressed emotions will never die. They're buried alive, and they continue to come forth later in uglier ways. So he's saying, have you guys read the book Emotions Buried Alive Never Die? Like, it's not by Freud, but it is that language, it is that words. And so he's pointing out something that Neptune in the 12th house also illustrate in your chart. That things that are unexpressed, things that are left submerged, that are left under the deep waters, that are left alone and not dealt with, don't go away just because we ignore them. So Freud helps us start to see that. For those of you guys that are a little bit more advanced in astrology, here's some extra information about Freud's birth chart. I pulled this data from Astro Charts. You can see that the data I used is May 6th, 1856 for him at 6:30 in the Czech Republic. And you can see some other things going on in his chart. You can see, I can't touch it. So you can see, look at this. Here's the North Node trine his midheaven. Here's Uranus sextile his Neptune. Pluto square his Chiron. You can see these juicy elements. Chiron square his ascendant, working with elements of pain and suffering and subconscious emotions and bringing them out through the personality into the world for healing, right? So some of you guys might appreciate this, and some of you guys might be like, I'm not ready for all of the signs and symbols yet. But I wanted to point that out to you. Okay. Then we have Jung. Jung comes in the world stage. And so Jung is a Swiss psychiatrist. He's also into analytic psychology. And in response to Freud, he comes up with his way of thinking and his way of seeing psychology. And so it looks like looks like the slide got messed up here, but Jung is who comes next in the world stage. And so his famous quote that we love to use at Wise Guys is, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it'll direct your life and you will call it fate." You'll think that all of these interesting little signposts are your fate, when really it's something from the unconscious that you're trying to dig out and unbury and unearth, right? So here's a little bit of info on Carl Jung's chart. We won't spend too much time here. Again, honoring the fact that I got this from Astro Charts. And you can see he's got his Sun square Neptune. He's got Saturn square Pluto natally. That's something to work out. That's a difficult thing to work out. His 12th ruled by Capricorn, right? So making it his business to be talking about this stuff. Interesting chart aspects. So feel free to take a screenshot or grab it in the replay. Carl Jung. And then we go into Bill W. and Dr. Bob. So we're still in this late 1800s, and the players that are in the field of psychoanalysis looking beyond the physical realm into the spiritual realm for solutions with things like addiction and drinking too much, right? These are all very Neptunian topics, Neptunian themes. And so Bill and Bob met in the Oxford group. This was a spiritual group, a fellowship group. And they believed in the universal spiritual principles of daily living. So Alcoholics Anonymous started in 1935, but these are the players in the field. And the AAA, right, has 12 traditions, 12 steps. We're talking about the 12th house. They talk about the 12 spiritual axioms. They talk about principles, Neptunian things before personalities. So there's anonymity, which I think is kind of funny too, right? Like there's a vagueness, like we're not going to call anybody out. It's everybody's anonymous. We're at the Piscean sea, right? There's hope through AA. They came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, where we're making the unconscious conscious, right? So here's a quote from the Big Book of AA. And I put this in here because it has a lot of themes around Neptune in the 12th house. Basically, the point of this quote is to see where we set the own ball rolling through our subconscious mind. So anytime that we get upset out there, it's because of something subconsciously that we're still ticking on and we're still running the hamster wheel on and that we're still creating, and it's emanating from us. And that we can see that the root of our problems is driven by our own fear, our own self-delusion, our own self-pity. And this is all very Neptunian and 12th house related. Sun in the 12th house celebrities for fun. Madonna, bless her heart, I'm not sure what the update is. I saw that she was having some health crisis. Not surprising with Venus retrograde in Leo in over her sun in the 12th house, right? These kind of medical mysteries, these surprise chaotic events going on for her. So all of these folks have sun in the 12th house, but in a different sign. So Madonna being a Leo, Keanu, Virgo, Kanye, a Gemini, and Bowie, Capricorn. So you can see that Leo vibe, but it's still all of the 12th house, like who has the sun in the 12th house, what kind of pains are they working through, what kind of wounds are they healing and then expressing and sharing with the greater public. Okay, one more here, I believe, before we switch gears. So Bob Iger, maybe you guys can correct me, is it Iger? I'm not sure how you say his name, but he, at his time with the Walt Disney Company, oversaw the acquisition of Pixar, of Marvel, of Lucasfilms, and he had this belief that the heart and soul of the company is creativity and innovation. These are also Piscean and 12th house things, creativity, right? Getting creative. And the reason I brought him up is because look at all this Pisces activity he has, right? So we can see some of the themes coming forward in different ways. this idea about making the unconscious conscious. How do you practically do this, right? My Virgo's in midheaven. I need to know how we break it down. How do we really do it, right? So here are some things that I came up with. If you have some different ideas, please pop them in the chat. But the first one is to stay curious, right? And the way to stay curious is through, for me, from my personal experience, is looking at astrology, looking at human design, working with psychic development. These are the things that help me stay curious about myself, to know myself, to get little clues from the universe, and to make something that was driving me unconsciously, conscious. So now that I know it and I name it, I can settle into my bones and be more of who I am and magnetize and create from a place of consciousness. That creates awareness, right? And we know that the observer affects the experiment, right, from quantum physics. And we know that life is happening from us. For a long time we would say life is happening for you, not to you. But really, life is happening from us. And so we're having this awareness that it's happening from us. That helps us see that there's something in the unconscious director of the show that I'm watching has an agenda, has a motivation, is having a coping mechanism, is having a survival mechanism pop up, right? So the awareness of this helps change what we see out there. The observer affects the experiment. And then taking inventory. We have a lot of questions in an article called Decisions that I refer to frequently at Wise Skies on the blog. In inventory, it would be a time to journal, and you're asking these self-reflective questions, and you're trying to find core causes and conditions of your behavior. The quote from AA, if you go on to read further, it says that we're driven by 1,000 forms of fear. And so one easy question to access the unconscious is, what am I afraid of? And a lot of times when we get down to it, I know this isn't funny, but in my clients and in my experience, a lot of times when we get down to it, we're afraid of dying alone, we're afraid of death, we're afraid of not being loved, we're afraid of ending up with a can of cat food and a light bulb on a string and homeless. These are the fears that are driving us. And so taking some time to be self-reflective and help us get to the core causes of our behavior helps us shift them. And then we don't have to act from that place of poverty mentality or fear mentality anymore. And then being honest about it, accepting what is. If I'm ignoring the fact that XYZ is happening in my life, it's going to keep pushing it down. And like Freud taught us, it's never really going to go away. So if it would be much better if I would be honest and accept what is true and what's really happening in my life, and then take full responsibility for it, where I can see where I set the ball rolling to create such unhappiness or discord, right? And that full responsibility piece is key for making things unconscious into conscious. This is the part where we shift and find your 12th house lessons. So drop me a note. Are you having fun? Are you awake? Do you need a coffee break? Are you doing good over there, world? Okay, I see your faces. Thank you. Love you. Awesome. Audrey says all good. Thank you. Bless you. Okay. So finding your 12th house lessons, what we want to do is we want to find the easy place to access is the sign that the 12th house is in. If you want to go further, we would look at the planets that are in your 12th house. For me, there are 4 planets in my 12th house, so it's a high level of interest for me personally. A place of mystery, a place of curiosity with my mediumship, with my connection to the other world, to the unseen element. A third place we would look is transits, and so what's going on in the sky. There's a couple of you guys that I read for your quarterly reports that have a lot of 12th house activity going on right now, and so I can see that this is a time in your life where you are going to see where your secret director has been running the show, and you're going to dethrone them, and the easiest way to dethrone them is through meditation. That's something else we can talk about later. So if anybody has, let me check the chat. And thank you, very interesting. Welcome back from your long road trip. Audrey, let's see, Lubna has Mars, Jupiter, and North Node in the 12th house. Woo! Okay, you're like me. Big party in the 12th. Okay, North Node in the 12th too. That's a very interesting placement. What do you do? I'm curious. What's your life like? Like, what's your...
I work in war zones and famines with refugees.
Oh, amazing. How amazing. Thank you for that work. Okay, and then we've got, let's see, Audrey's got a 12th house Taurus, and her sun is in the north node. Wow. Okay, so I don't know why I'm surprised. I'm sure everybody here has interesting 12th house activity. That's why we're interested. Susan's got 12th house in Gemini with a little Cancer. Julie Scorpio on the 12th. Me too, Julie. Shelley's 12th house ruler is Leo and Virgo. Yes, very interesting. In your South Node Pisces, 12th house near the end. iPhone, I think that's Julie. Pluto is on her ascendant, kind of maybe in the like maybe at the end of the 12th. Your ascendant is your first house. And Debbie has nothing in the 12th. Bless you. You have a little bit freer path there. Nadine's got Lilith. Is it Algol that you were typing? And I don't know. I'm not familiar with the third one. So you've got some serious fixed star energy in the 12th house. And look, okay, this is great. So thank you for this continued conversation. I love that you found your tribe, you found your people. Here we are. So anybody that's got Aries in the 12th house, that's yourself, or anybody that you're studying, it's funny, I went through and I put in the difficult lessons, and then I tried to like soften it up a little. I don't know why I tried to soften it up a little. It's helpful to know the direct hits, you know what I mean? So some lessons that you might observe. Now, there are some astrologers that will take the 12th house cusp and say, this is how you died in a past life. And I find that really juicy. And I could go down a whole rabbit hole. I have all of the serial killer astrology books, and it's like the true crime. That's something that the 12th house is interested in. I didn't do that today. But because so many of you are so knowledgeable with your astrology, I'll just throw that out there, that if you want to know how you died in a past life, you could look at South Node, but you could also look at 12th house. So, Aries folks, anybody with Aries in the 12th house, any part of the 12th house, or Mars in the 12th house. Some of the lessons here are around your self-destructive tendencies, right? We people make hard going of life, especially so with Aries there. Sometimes we need somebody to shake us and be like, you're making this difficult, and when we can say that to ourselves, oh, the freedom that we can feel. Setting personal boundaries. Aries in the 12th might not be sure of where they stop and where somebody else starts, or what the boundaries are. They might push the boundaries right to the edge. They might really like that. This might be the motorcycle rider, or the hot air balloon rider, or the one that's just got to experience the edges of life. And Aries in the 12th is very impulsive. I was recently fired hot and dirty with an Aries in the 12th house person. And so there can be a lot of impulsivity, right? Sometimes that's what's needed. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just a lesson to observe. There can be fantasies about me first and me best and me the leader with Aries in the 12th house. So right-sizing some of the image of the self and where that stands in the greater tribe of humanity. And then there's some lessons around solitude versus isolation, taking your bag and carrying it and going away and being isolated. And it's, that feeling, like we all go through that, like, don't come near me. Where is everybody? Don't come near me. Where are you? Take care of me. That back and forthness of solitude and isolation. Aries in the 12th house probably carries a lot of personal secrets, a lot of private information, and that can be a huge weight. And so I encourage anybody that's carrying a lot of personal secrets to find a trusted friend, to share those secrets with, to get them out of your system, that you're not carrying all this weight alone, and then to put it in your God box or however you connect with spirit, and to share those so that it's not a burden. You can create the prison of your own making with these personal secrets. You can have some identity issues that you can't fully explain, right? Identity issues that you don't really understand. Like maybe you feel like you're not part of this family, or you're not part of this culture, or you're not part of this gender identity, or you're not part of this, like that name doesn't feel like you, or whatever. You can have moments where you just don't feel like you belong as yourself. And that can be a tricky road, right? So the inventory process of going through all of that, of being honest with our personal identity issues, of things we can't quite explain, and being at peace with things we can't quite explain. You know, maybe you do the 23andMe and it comes back all like unexplainable. Being at peace with that is part of this journey. Okay, let me check my chat. Okay, cool. Taurus in the 12th. And so some lessons to observe here have to do with the body, Taurus, right? Food and finances, but there can be secret eating behavior. There can be some body dysmorphia. There can be right sizing your body image issues. There can be overindulgence, right? An easy point to access there. There can be some lessons around your financial responsibility, like feeling like you never have enough, you're never going to have enough. These types of things, you can right size that when you come into more financial responsibility and maturity, right? So, and right sizing your material desires. I have some folks with Taurus in the 12th house that I see them on these lavish vacations and they still feel like they never have enough. They own their own homes and they never feel like they have enough. And so there can be some lessons around where do I budget where I can feel like things are happening clearly, honestly, consciously. I'm taking it out of the hidden and into the seen. Seen world from the unseen world. There can be some unexplained food sensitivities and allergies. There can be some medical mysteries that just might not make sense. Hiding relationships was another one there. Oh, sorry. I've also witnessed this. So if some of you Taurus 12th house people have some sneaky relationships going on, I know, I see you. I know what's happening here. And these are relationships that you just don't want out in the public for whatever reason. It could be a legit relationship that you're not proud of. It could be, any number of reasons, but there can be a tendency to hide, or to not want to be sensual with somebody, or for them to not want to see your body, things like this. Okay. Gemini in the 12th house. So Gemini, of course, our communication, our information exchange, realizing that with great influence comes great responsibility. The idea of influence versus manipulation. You might be holding on to secrets from early childhood issues that may have come up. Maybe you shared something that wasn't respected or heard, and so you just kept that as a secret. This could have happened something with a neighbor or a sibling. You could be carrying some secret information about a sibling, right? You could have a sister from a daddy that has another mama that this one doesn't know about and this one doesn't know about. And now you have all these burdens going on because you have a secret sister, right? You have a secret brother. You have something going on there that is in the hidden realm that would free you if you could bring it up and talk about it and work through it. Another lesson to observe, sometimes that Gemini energy is very busybody, very nosy, very curious, right? Nothing wrong with that. The nosiest people make the greatest psychics because they're exploring and finding good information, right? But there can be some hard lessons in minding your own business. Not everybody wants to know everything that we have to share and say. So knowing our audience and knowing when to retain information or just asking permission. Hey, I'm getting a quick hit on this. Would you like me to share? And they're like, no. And you're like, but it's really good. And they're like, no. So just respecting that. Automatic writing, I thought, would be a nice gift or a lesson to observe here with Gemini in the 12th house, because I think that you have a connection to spirit through writing, through holding the pen. So automatic writing versus soul writing, this can be like a trance state where it's almost like the Ouija board where you're just kind of holding the pen and the pen is writing itself. You're allowing spiritual influence, safely grounded with all the proper spiritual, integrities intact, of course. But you might find that you might have a gift for that. So let me just check on you guys. Shelley's transgender sun's Neptune, Moon, Jupiter, Uranus in the 12th. What sign is that? What sign is that in, Shelley?
Hey, the mostly Aquarius. You're in Aquarius.
Oh, right. Interesting.
And then the one in, which one is it that's in, I have to find it again. It's in Capricorn, barely.
That's okay. It's just fascinating what this stuff can unearth, and when we talk about it, it helps other people unearth and get clues in their own worlds too. So
Yeah, just that Kendall had to be so uh private and secretive for so long
Hmm.
about who he was. That's just interesting.
It is. I have full body chills. It's like,
And being very quirky, weird, different than everybody else, that was all like under wraps.
right. And it's so relieving when we can just be ourselves, right? And he found that sooner than other people, right? Like,
Yes.
so that's a nice thing. And he had a supportive mom through the whole process. So there's lots of support going on. Uh, let's see. Let's talk about Cancer in the 12th house. So, family secrets, right? Family secrets are burdens. This could be like inheritances that are left that are very problematic. I have a client whose father died and left like $400,000 worth of debt, and she's having a big mess and having to clean that up and a lot of activations. These are the types of things that you might see. I'm not predicting bad juju for you. I'm just saying there might be some family burdens. You might be the family burden, you know what I mean? I don't know. But there can also be lessons around idealizing your parents, like making them God and goddess, making them more than people. There can be issues around, again, healthy boundaries and control issues, needing to control things because your environment wasn't regimented, having mommy issues, having daddy issues. Working with your own emotional intelligence. One of the gifts here is a deep interest in these strong emotional connections. Somebody with Cancer in the 12th house does not have time for small talk, does not care about the celebrity slide I put up, is highly agitated that I had the Jung slide wrong. You know what I mean? Like there are things going on here that you can start to see that are quirks, and you can just love yourself through it. It doesn't have to be like this crazy making thing. It can be like, oh yeah, I really do need to work. I have another client. Gosh, this story I have thought about so much. She was at a restaurant with another family. She has two grown ass sons, and one of them ordered something to eat, and she told him that he didn't want that he would want this instead. And it's like, first of all, I mean, this is a person I love a whole lot, so I'm not being ugly about it. But that's where you can see there's not a real healthy boundary. There's a control tendency, and it's over food and nurturing and momming, right? So if you can stay on your own mat with Cancer in the 12th house and let other people make their mistakes, they need to make them. I'm sure watching me grow up was really hard for my parents because I'm the kind of person that needed to make my own mistakes. I needed to find out through trial and error. And so knowing that, right, like it's the control issues, then you also don't want to turn them inward so much that you also can do like the Taurus in the 12th house, the eating disorders, the body dysmorphia, the controlling of resources in such a way that it's detrimental. So finding the middle road with all of this. Leo in the 12th house. Lessons to observe here. These are delusions of grandeur. Now, I know that some of you have Leo in the 12th house, and I know that Venus is going to retrograde in your house, right? And so Shelley's given us a clue that she's got that going on just a little bit, not all Leo. But the thing with Leo, right? We all need to shine. We all need to be the star card. I know is symbolic for you in your life. We all need to have that illumination and to be a leader of something. The problem is when we think that our way is the only right way with Leo in the 12th, right? That self-righteousness. And here's what happens is you're usually right, but other people don't necessarily want to hear it or can't hear it, and it can cause a lot of friction and tension. And so this delusion that everybody would see things the way that I see them, this delusion that I would know what's best for somebody else's life because I'm usually right, and so right-sizing your own self-importance in somebody else's life can be a lesson to observe, right? That you would think that you would have that much power in someone's life is another phrase or way to look at it. Lessons of Leo in the 12th house are humanitarian efforts, or being part of a humanitarian effort. Leo in the 12th, there's a connection to profound spiritual power, right? So these people that have this amount of power and a wise use of this power, this would be conducting the electric flow of the healing frequencies, the healing currents. There can be tough lessons around reputation, feelings hurt or boosted up. There can be lessons around heart health, right? Leo rules the heart, and the heart has its own intelligence. Are you guys familiar with the research behind heart math, the Heart Math Institute? That's a fun one to go play around in. Lots of research. One of my favorite ones is when they show people, like they don't show people. It's like, here's a picture's coming. What's it going to be? And they measure their heart on those machines, and they can tell like if the heart gets excited or if the heart gets scared or whatever the feeling tone of the heart is. And the heart knows 20 seconds before the picture is shown. You know, it's amazing what kind of research you can do when you really do follow your heart. Before you have the information in the seen world, Leo in the 12th has it in the heart, right? So this is very profound. And there's also a need for correct use of leadership. So Virgo in the 12th house. So if you have a little Virgo, little Leo, you might also have a little Virgo in the 12th house. Good, Lubna and Shelly, I can see you guys waving. Some lessons to observe: that you might be more street smart than book smart, or book smart than street smart. There might be an imbalance in there that's kind of fun to play with. You might have a really good balance of both. It's just a lesson to observe. You might have a fixation on things that aren't fixable. You know, the things that are really none of our business, that we can't fix. And we might tend, like a lesson to observe would be, am I trying to fix somebody else's problem? Am I trying to fix something that can't be fixed? And I'm setting myself up for a replay of destructive mental behavior because I want it fixed, I want it fixed, I want it fixed. It's not fixed. It's not. Now I'm going to place my self-worth and importance in the fact that it's not fixed. So I'm bad and I'm wrong. Does this make sense? You know, have you ever felt like that? Somebody, I think Julie says, yes. So there, we can see ourselves through the lens of astrology. Right-sizing, detailed analysis, right? This presentation was a good one. I didn't realize I had a mistake. I'm mortified about it. I'm going to go fix it. But the idea is I'm not blowing it out of proportion. My skin isn't crawling about it. I just made a mistake. I'm going to fix it and let myself off the hook, right? Virgo in the 12th house, there can be a communication with the strange and the uncommon, and like this desire to connect with like the oddities of life, right? Like to go into the herbs and oddities and the interesting and the unusual facets, right? Like I think of the door sign, people are strange when you're a stranger. Virgo in the 12th house, there can be medical mysteries in your own body, but you might also be the perfect psychic surgeon to help other people with their medical mysteries. You might intuitively know what's going on for them when nobody else does. This can be part of your desire to fix the unfixable, but it can be put to good use, right? When we make the subconscious conscious, it can be put to good use as long as we're standing in our integrity. And you might have some secret remedies, right? You might have like that one face cream that we all needed that we didn't know we needed. You might have that one essential oil, or you might know that this homeopathic does this thing for this random, strange, uncommon. You have the weird details. You have the secret remedies. And so go find you a Virgo in the 12th house when you are having a medical mystery and see what comes to their mind. See what they have to say. Shelly says, oh no, fixing people. Oh God, that's me. Yeah, but you know, you can do a good job at it without hurting people and without hurting yourself. You know, giving everybody the chance to, like one of the best things you can say is, I fully trust you to handle your life in a way that's best for you. And if you need anything, I'll be over here, right? With my secret remedy that you know is right. And wait for people to come to you, right? So Libra in the 12th house, some lessons to observe. I know this one's kind of harsh. Lies, betrayal, relationship karma, but it's the truth. It's what I see in my practice. I've been practicing for 22 years. People with Libra in the 12th house have some kind of deal going on where they're working through relationship karma, and it often looks hard before we're aware. It often In the unconscious, it's like life is happening to me. I'm in self-pity. Why did I get left again? Why am I being cheated on? Meh, 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 meh. But in truth, it's like we got to right size the expectations and get back into balance with things, because Libra in the 12th is the great adaptogenic herb. It balances everything out. And so it could be, I would never suggest that somebody deserves to be cheated on, right? That's not in my nature. But what I would suggest is, in some unconscious, quirky, kinky way, there might be a balancing going on. So we don't have to judge it, but once we're conscious of it, we'll lose all the negativity associated with relationship drama, right? I have a mentor that says, what would it be like without the drama? And what she means is, it would just be facts. Not a big deal. Don't have to like get all in it, right? So there can be a secret talent in art and beauty. You might find that you're super talented at bringing out the beauty in other people, touching their face, creating rose oils, visualizing rose petals around them. You have a fine eye for things, so you can see when the art's off just a little bit. You can see when things need some balancing out. And so the whole point of Libra in your 12th house is to help you balance your own karma, and in so doing, it balances out for the tribe of humanity, right? Because you made it possible. It's possible for all of us and for everybody in your auric field, 7 generations forward and back. There is a lot of actual research on that 7 generations thing. So there's something to it. It's not just woo-woo hearsay. Your egg was formed in your mom's womb. So you're carrying, right, some of this DNA forward. And so the relationship balancing may have nothing to do with you at all. And you get the great honor of writing things, of balancing things out. And there can be some lessons around the correct use of analysis, right? So not judging, not gossiping, not things like this. The bad rap of Libra is those who gossip to you will gossip about you. And I definitely had that happen earlier this year in my business. I had somebody that was gossiping to me. I didn't entertain it, but they were really chatty, and I didn't entertain it, and then they started getting really chatty about how awful my company is. And so my point is, those who gossip to you will gossip about you. Loose lips sink ships. I'm not saying that you're the devil and you're the one making these crimes of passion happen, but you might notice them as a theme in your life. And if it's not in your intimate life, you might notice that you want to be a relationship coach, or you have a desire to help in this department in some way. There's a lot more to your chart than the 12th house. We're just looking at a small piece of it. So Scorpio in the 12th house, I know that's me and somebody else. Burying your feelings is a big one. Scorpio is very plutonic, very Mars. Okay, Julie and me have Scorpio. And so we might not have recognized our feelings for a long time. We might not have even known what a feeling was. I had a friend the other day, seriously, honest to God, she was talking through a hard thing. This is a Scorpio female that I admire. And she was like, I'm not crying. It's just when I'm talking about things that I'm passionate or have emotion through, my eyes will water. And I'm like, you're crying. That's crying. It's okay. You can cry. You can feel an emotion. And so a lot of times when we don't know how to feel our feelings, or we don't want to feel our feelings, we'll go into escapism, right? Escapism can look like working out, for hours on end. It can look like eating a bunch of cheese enchiladas. It can look like drinking to oblivion. It can look like traveling, right? We can be in healthy escape, and it can look really cute on Instagram, but we might be avoiding something that we're suppressing, right? So burying feelings lead to some kind of explosion of emotions with Scorpio in the 12th house, whether you've got planets there or not. You might be hiding taboo interests. I can tell you from me in my life that I love to go to the metaphysical bookstore with my very taboo aunt at the time, and I would love to look at I'd go to the section on tarot cards and astrology, and I was such a bad girl because it was not It was not mainstream when I was little. It was very taboo. So I loved to do stuff like that, especially, very naughty topics that I wasn't supposed to be looking at as a little girl. So hiding your taboo interests can be one thing. Daily emotional inventory is important because it will build up. You might not know how you're feeling, so you might need to check in with yourself on how you're feeling. Good language tips are to say, I notice I'm feeling la la la. What do you think, right? I notice I'm feeling blah blah blah. How do you feel? Scorpio in the 12th house, strong relationships to mental institutions, jails, things where we feel locked up and we have to deal with our own darkness, right? This is the bondage of the self, the bondage of self-will, and this is the self-will run riot. And so there can be a lot of fears to uncover with Scorpio in the 12th. One of them, usually not death. The Scorpio in the 12th is very comfortable with the afterlife. Sagittarius in the 12th, some lessons to observe. Sagittarius is the great wanderer, but all who wander are not lost. And so knowing where to end up in life, this can be this huge quest for what? You don't know. It's a quest for the truth. You're looking for the truth. Where is it? Where is it? It's always out there. And the big joke is it's always in here, right? And so sometimes it's like the Sagittarius in the 12th lesson is wherever you go, there you are, right? So it's like working through your issues right where you are in this body, in this house, in this city, before you can expect anything to change out there in some other place. You can be very secretive about your spiritual work. You might not feel comfortable using the word God or talking about Jesus or talking about AA. Sagittarius in the 12th would be very private with how they see the world. And this may be because they want to appear as fair and kind and not offend anybody. And that's okay. You might really get down with some strange kind of interesting meditation that takes you on a journey like walking the labyrinth, just letting everything become your meditation. The Sagittarius in the 12th is the magic carpet ride. And so we need to right size our truth-seeking activities here. There might be an affinity to be in cults that don't look like cults. To join classes where there's gurus that are misleading the masses. I'm certainly not going to be on any exposés anytime soon, but there are several people out there teaching that might not should be, misleading the masses. I have some friends in India that have given me lots of expose material on the gurus in India that are just, not just India, right? That's just one of my personal interests, so that's why I'm aware of it. And you guys that know me know that I love watching all of the exposés on the cults, and so I have an interest in that, right? Sagittarius, I have Sag rising, so a little bit in the 12th house too. But the idea here is with Sag in the 12th, we might make people God, and that ain't gonna work, right? We might make our teachers God, and that ain't gonna work. And so we want to keep everybody off of the pedestal and lift our hearts in the appropriate way. Lots to do there. Capricorn in the 12th, right? This is one of the strongest connections to past life karmas, is when we have Capricorn in the 12th house. You have interesting and curious things that you're overcoming based on what may have happened before. You might be more interested in past lives or like QHHT, I can't think of what that stands for, like the Dolores Cannon healing, quantum healing stuff. Things like this might be very powerful for you, or you might be very opposed to it. You probably have a strong opinion about that type of stuff. But if you can't find something in this life and in this timeline, you might find it in another life, in another timeline. And that's why I say strange things to overcome. It's kind of interesting. You could also have a fixation on liberation, wanting to be free from the responsibilities of this world, wanting to not have to pay your bills ever again, not wanting to get ahead of taxes so you don't have to do that, having this feeling like there's a constant to-do list and you just want to be free from it. You are on a mission that requires a lot of faith, that you're not going to have as much in the world to see as you want. It's like walking with faith without, I don't know, what is that verse or quote? It's like basically you got to believe it without seeing it. And then right-sizing the importance of healers. Capricorn, right? Some of the best healers I've ever met are Capricorn. They have the sea goat energy in them in that 12th house, the house of the subconscious, the dream world, the spiritual connection. They're both grounded in land with their earth crystals and their Stevie Nicks vibes, and then also the sea goat, right, with all of the Neptunian mysteries of the mermaids and the kelp forests and all of that. That's all very Capricornian. We think of Capricorn and it's like business, ambition. What's my career? There's a lot more magic to Capricorn than we talk about in mainstream astrology. And so you might have gone off the deep end with some healers and realize that you need to kind of come back to the middle of the road in some way, shape, or form. You might have made something your healer that's not, and having to kind of come back down and to the real world. And the real world is the thing that you want to be free from. So that's why you're like looking and making an over importance in the healers in your world. So these can be lessons to observe and experiment with. They might or might not describe you. You can take what you want and leave the rest, of course. We've got Aquarius in the 12th house, so we're down to the last two. Aquarius in the 12th, again, this strange attractions. Aquarius, I love Aquarius energy because it's really like the freak show. It's the surprise element. It's you never know what's gonna happen next. It's very exciting. It's very sensual and interesting. It's very out there. It's very futuristic, and it's very AI. It's very alien. It's very otherworldly intelligence, and it's a fixed sign, right? So try to tell somebody with a lot of Aquarius what to do. See what happens. You know what I mean? They are going their own way. They're born under a different moon, and they're born under a different life, and they have something new to elevate with their frequency, right? And it's something that we don't know, that we don't have ingrained in us. Anne says, if there are two signs in the 12th, will the person have all of both, or maybe some lessons of each but not others? I would say that it would maybe depend. If you had like 29 degrees Aquarius and 1 degree Pisces, you're going to have a lot of Aquarius stuff going on, but you're still going to have some Pisces stuff going on, right? If you were to look at it at the whole house system, you would only be looking at one sign. But the way that I look at it, I'm looking at both of them, and I'm looking at a blend of information for it. So I would say probably a blend of information from each. If they had planets in one of the sign and not the other, there's going to be a heavier influence where there are planets. If there's a transit happening in one part but not the other yet, there's going to be a heavier influence where those transits are activating. Does that help a little bit? Yeah. Nadine, a friend with Capricorn in the 12th fit just what you described. Okay, cool. Thanks for the validation, and bless them on their healing journey. Yeah. They are the ones that knows how to crystal grid and do all this cool secret work like that. So, but we're talking about Aquarius, and so there can be a fixation of the mind. They know what they want, they know how they want it, and it's very clear, and that's their truth. The challenge can be thinking that what's true for them is true for everybody, right? We are individuals, and so it is right for them, and we should support them in that, but it may not be right for us, and that's okay too. Aquarius and the 12th people need to embrace networks in strange places, right? So I don't really have a good example. I'm into beekeeping. That's kind of a weird network to be in. And it is very different. The beekeeping network in Texas is very different than the rest of my life, right? So for me, that might be embracing odd networks in odd places. I'm just trying to come up with a personal example. Aquarius, this can be chosen family. You guys know the song Chosen Family. It's great. It's very powerful. Oh, good. Nadine says then Aquarius with exactly what we're describing for him too. Okay. Chosen family might be more important than bloodlines. I have a client with this placement, and she travels with musicians, and she photographs them and does different branding things for them in that network. And that's her chosen family. She has a bloodline family that's important to her, but she's really all about her chosen family with these different groups of people in the music world. So that's another example. Aquarius in the 12th house, they really like to shepherd the underdog. So if they get their sent on an underdog, they are going to embrace that fully and help that person or that mission. You know, I'm thinking of a client who really likes pit bulls and parolees. You guys, did you ever watch that? It's this woman, and she takes pit bulls and she does a pit bull rescue. I think it's in Oklahoma. And she takes parolees, right? So 12th house, prison work, people that are out on bond, and she gives them a job cleaning the dog kennels and helping the pit bulls and rehabbing the pit bulls. And it's this strange network, right? And it helps literally the underdog. That was a good one. Thanks, Spirit. I didn't plan that one. Okay, so Pisces in the 12th house. Pisces in the 12th house, you might notice really strange dreams. This is actually strange dreams. This is prophetic dreams, right? So this can be things like you wake up and you know when the next world crisis, the environment shift is happening. Pisces in the 12th house, you have to watch out for a lot of codependency. This is when you need somebody else to survive, to breathe, to live, to do, right? You need to watch out for fantasy versus reality. Pisces likes to be in the 12th house, but there can still be some unrealistic obsessions, right? Obsessions with things like religion. There can be an overboard nature about people with Pisces in the 12th house. And so they're not just going to, I don't know, I have a bad example of this. They're not just going to go out and have a beer, right? They're going to be there at the end of the night with all of the drinks. They're not just going to go to Starbucks for a coffee. They're getting like the coffee and the tea and the water and the snack for later, and then they see a guy in line, and then they're paying for the people behind him, and they're paying for the people in front of them, and it turns into this big generous thing where we're all here because we love Starbucks and we just love that. You know what I mean? It's this generosity that is overwhelming and can turn into an overgiving situation that then drains them. Thank you, Audrey, for helping me with my words. No boundaries, right? There can be no boundaries. That's not bad. We need that sometimes, right? We need no boundaries when we're doing psychic medium work. We need no boundaries in certain times in our life. But it often comes from a place when we had no boundaries in childhood, and that can speak to some abuse, it can speak to some addiction, it can speak to parents that weren't present in childhood. And that's not a shame on you, that's not a guilt trip for anybody at all. It's just like when we don't have boundaries, it comes from somewhere, right? Because we were born with skin and hair and bones and things that create boundaries. But when we don't feel like that, we feel like we need somebody else to just even barely survive. And we take on their emotions and we take on their experiences. And then we call ourselves an empath. You know what I mean? And then we have to learn how to unfeel all of those things that aren't ours, or feel them responsibly through meditation, right? Through processing things, you know. Does this make sense? Is this helpful? Are we feeling called out? All right, I love Wayne Dyer. I'm sure you do too if you're here. I'm been re-listening to his book where he goes through all of the Tao, the Tao Te Ching. And I love this quote. It's, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's on Audible. If you need something to listen to while you're walking or whatever you're doing, that I highly recommend any of his work, but specifically this one, Change the Way You Look at Things. It's blue. It's like a sunset type of a cover. Another one, a quote for the 12th house to help us on our journey is, of course, Bob Marley, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. That's the 12th house, mental slavery, where we get stuck in our own mind. And he says, none but ourselves can free our minds. I think that Bob and I have a different meditation technique, but you can choose your own meditation, right, technique to free your mind, right? That's the goal of the 12th house, is to name the mind, name the thoughts that are happening, so that we move them from this unconscious place that's driving our life, that's creating what's in front of us, and makes it conscious and loses all of its power, right? And so our whole world becomes this walking meditation. I left space for meditation here, and I wanted to just talk about what's next. So just quickly, a little bit of housekeeping. this is the end of the workshop. So first of all, thank you for everybody for coming, and anybody watching the replay later, thank you for being at Wise Skies 2. You can check out the podcast or the YouTube channel, get a lot of great resources at wiseskiescollective.com. In our membership, we offer free classes for astrology, human design, and psychic development. And so what's coming next here in July, we're talking about our inner vision, what we see in the dark. And we kicked it off today with this 12th house, what we see in the dark. On the 13th, Leisha's going to be teaching human design. On the 20th, I'm going to be going through some exercises for your psychic senses. In August is a little different around Wise Skies because I'm completing a certification and I'll be gone all of August. And so I'm going to pre-record our August classes and release them on those days. Which is really different and hard for me. I would rather not, but I think it's the best solution to make sure that we get the material out. And then in September, we're going to be celebrating the equinox and all of the alignment that can happen in your chart and in your HD chart and in your psychic senses. So that's a little taste of what's next. And I'm happy to stick around for a meditation if anybody wants to, but I also want to honor your time if you'd like to take off. And I'm going to stop the share. Do we have any questions? Have I opened a can of worms for you? Yeah, Labna.
Yes, you have. And it's so funny that Leo talks about humanitarianism. I'm actually Leo Virgo, not Libra Scorpio. So it got me to correct. What's the North Node in the 12th house mean?
So which sign is it in?
It is in North Node, Leo.
North Node in Leo. So I have a North Node in Leo, right? So do you, right? Look at our big hair, right? We look like lions, right? And the North Node in Leo, this is a tricky one because most of my planets are in that 12th house. I would rather be behind the scenes, secret director, playing back here, introspective, at home. I look like life of the party, Sag rising, but then I've got Leo and North Node, so I can really speak to this one. So Leo and North Node, this is really about putting your name behind your brand, putting your face behind what you're doing. Yours is in the 12th house, right? So you might have an element of secrecy where you can't put your face behind what you're doing because there's an element of safety going on for you. There's lots of things to work with, but this is really a quest for leadership, right? A quest for leadership and a quest for being the heart-centered leader. Like today, you could tell my tone of voice. It was not my normal like chipper, Tiffany, sense of humor self, because we're talking about exposing some sensitive subjects. And so you might find that in your quest for leadership, you're exposing some sensitive subjects in the 12th house over there. Is that helpful?
Yes.
You know, the best book on the North Node is Jan Spiller's book. I recommend that one to a lot of people. It's called Astrology for the Soul, and it's really impressive body of work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Guys, okay. Are you hanging out because you want to meditate? Everybody's like, no. But now I need to. I know we need to, right? Audrey's North Node in the 12th feels like the path to her higher self or true purpose through the internal world and connecting with the subconscious. That's a great way to put it. And no planets in the 12th, but it's an interception. Your interception, Anne, is it Sagittarius or Gemini? Gemini, okay. Yeah, and so you've read some from Forrest on interceptions, but not in the 12th. So, yeah, Gemini, that Gemini Sag one, I often see people that had weird little issues in early childhood education that go on to become the schoolmaster, that go on to become the head of organization of all of the schools. So Gemini there, like this information exchange that was denied you earlier in life, right, is something that you're like, I'm going to get all the pieces of information now and I'm going to decide for myself. Don't tell me what to think or how I'm going to feel about it. I'm going to find out for myself. And so I love, that placement is difficult because it's intercepted, but it's also one of your greatest life lessons. And I see people like that. I see that one as the most common one in my practice, so it must be something for me to learn too. Shelley, South Node, Virgo in the 12th, opposite sign and house. So, South Node, what do you mean opposite sign and house? South Node, Virgo in the 12th. Oh, because Virgo is opposite of Pisces? Yeah, okay. Yeah, South Node. So, I like, we could really geek out on how you died in a past life, you know? And I think we have actually before, as like having spent a past life as a nun, you know, that's very Virgo, South Node, 12th house. Like, I didn't make that connection before now. But I think a lot of us have spent those past lives in monasteries and nunneries, burned at the stake, like all of those types of feelings, right? And so it's interesting that your South Node is in Virgo in the 12th, and that you have a practice that you've had a medical practice, right? Virgo being medical, that it was somewhat easy for you. I'm not saying that it was not intellectually stimulating. I'm just saying you fell right in, you understood, right? And so the South Node shows us what we're kind of good at already that we came in with. And so you don't have to reach for it as much. Like Labna and I, we're not born superstars. We're having to reach and put ourselves out there. It's not comfortable for us, right? But what would be much more comfortable is the opposite sign. And for you, Shelley, the comfort is the place of the medical intuitive, the medical interior director, you know? And so that's good because you have skills, but you might also look at that North Node in Pisces and bringing the metaphysical into it part of your calling. So it's really cool. Thank you, Anne, for saying that fits. Well, let's take a moment to do our meditation. Make sure everybody's muted for now. Good. And I think what I really wanted to do was to just sit in a space and listen for information for our 12th house, like one or two quick hits from our guides. We're not going to be automatic writing pages and pages and chapters of our lives, but I do want you to reach in and connect with your guides and connect with your source and find one or two keywords that are a good takeaway for you to make the unconscious conscious, for you to be aware of, for you to be mindful of, and for you to experiment with. And so as we go into this, I'm going to find a little bit of music. You can begin to close your eyes. Let me know if you can hear this. Yeah, okay, thank you. Just allowing your energy to drop down from the head to the heart, to the solar plexus. Maybe rolling the shoulders up by the ears just so that you can relax them down the spine. Lengthening and softening the breath. Just opening the doors of your interior castle. Begin to watch your feet walk down this beautiful natural pathway. It's your favorite place in nature. You see a doorway ahead of you with golden liquid light streaming down from it in the cracks. As you're walking slowly towards this door, you're just inviting your spirit guides to come meet you here in this sacred place. It's okay if you don't know them or do know them. Just setting the intention that you'll hear from them today. And opening this beautiful doorway to the cosmos, this beautiful galaxy, swirling with constellations and beauty and grace. Allow yourself to be filled with this starlight, this starshine energy. As you breathe in the starlight. As you breathe out, it's just information you don't need. I'm just going to sit quietly here and ask for a few words from your guides. What is it that we can learn from our personal 12th house? What is it that's our blind spot that feels like it's wanting to be known at this time? I'm going to leave you here for a few moments to commune with your guides, and I'll be back to guide us out. Your guides could be talking to you with symbols or feelings or colors. Just notice what's being brought to your awareness. Relax the mind. Relax the third eye. Soften the inner ear. And listen once more with an ear of the heart. And begin to thank your guides for visiting you today. It's okay if it's not quite clear. They know that your intention has been made. And the signs and the symbols from the universe will come in today to help us understand and navigate our 12th house a little better. Bringing something to our attention. Go ahead and begin to close the door to the galaxies, the worlds beyond. And watch your feet as you turn around on your nature path. Just slowly walking back through nature. Notice here the signs and symbols. What animals are present? What time of day is it? Do you notice anything on your path? a few more deep breaths here, you can begin to wiggle the fingers and toes. Softly flutter the eyes open. Maybe taking a yawn. Just take a moment to write down any visions, colors, symbols, words that came to you. Intention is to encourage you to connect in heartfelt and authentic ways with your 12th house. You can begin to kind of come back. And I would love, if you guys have time to share anything, I would love to hear anything that came up for you. I'll start with Lynn if you would like.
Well, I found myself pretty close to tears, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly why.
Mm-hmm.
But my 12th house is loaded, so I guess that's just thinking about it makes me a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but
Emotional,
intense.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe there's some emotion that's wanting to come through,
Could
maybe.
be, yeah.
It's never fun to, you can't like schedule time to cry, but
No,
I encourage you to let the emotion come because it might bring some information with it.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see, Nadine, do you want to share anything?
Just that the pay attention to looking at Aquarius is that it starts and ruled by Taurus, I guess, because that's the that's where my 12th house starts in both a whole chart and a whatever you call the other one. It's not a koch, but I sent you both, I think. But I've just in the past. So I don't hear guides or see them real concretely, but I heard my own thought, which I know then is the guide talking to me. It's me thinking, but it must be the guide telling me that for me the Taurus, the let's see, what I wrote this, it's hard to put it in words. Eating disorders. I don't have a full-blown eating disorder, but I've always been healthy. And the thought that I had is fear of starvation and past life. So what's unconscious or subconscious or in the hidden of my part of my past, and I knew that was why. So seeing Black Lilith, I don't know if it's Black Lilith or just Astro.com only does Lilith, not Black Lilith. But Lilith in my 12th, seeing that today, thinking about it, remembering, hearing the guides say starvation in a past life, getting in a big part of my life is being heavy, being overweight, and maybe not having full-blown eating disorder, but 12th house is addictions, and I've gone through food addiction. I've gone to Overeaters Anonymous in the past. I'm in a program that right now for the last 2 years. That goes over food, eating certain foods that cause cravings, and we can call ourselves food addicts if we want, but the main thing is to get sugar and flour out of our diets completely, because that's the substance we're addicted to instead of alcohol or narcotics or any of those other addictions. So the overindulgence in food and sensitivities, as you take more out of your diet, you realize how much more the other ones are affecting you also. Like when you take sugar and flour out, you realize that caffeine covers over other things, and it also doesn't help your microbiome, or it affects your microbiome. So you get more, I've got more skin rashes coming out now. So the 12th, so I heard in the meditation that sentence that this is from starvation in a past life. This is fear of starving in this life is, and so that's what I got. Well, that was what I got from meditation, and that's kind of heavy. And I also knew because a friend said that a friend who does past lives said I starved in a past life, which isn't unusual because we probably had 100 lives, most of us, and died in one of them.
That's really powerful, and maybe, you know, what's coming to mind is bringing up, like, when we're eating, that idea that, you know, you're safe, and you're like bringing in kind of the reworking the
Yeah.
neural pathways. That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Thanks.
Woo!
Thanks for asking. I wasn't going to tell you, but but I've been working on this for a long, like my whole life. So
Yeah.
it's subconscious. 12th
Right.
house is subconscious. It's what I'm stuck working out. And the fear of the Lilith part. Is Lilith the same as Black Moon Lilith? Fear of?
I don't know
asking
the
you.
difference between Lilith
Yeah,
and
I'm
Black
not sure.
Lilith.
Yeah, and algal, I know, has to do with cataclysmic things or dangerous things.
Death, yeah.
And the other fixed star that misspelled it was Aldebaran, and I don't know if it's stars. I listen to one astrologer who does, but I'm not in the head like worrying about
Yeah.
those fixed stars. Yeah. Yeah. So all of those Taurus issues that you listed were like, boom, right on.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
just another opportunity to bring the subconscious. Conscious shifts things, and for our own awareness and our own experiment. Thank you for that. Audrey, did you want to share anything you picked up in the meditation?
So, you know, opening the doors to the cosmos and just like floating out amongst the stars. I had this like vision of me actually like floating out there, and I got the message to not cling to the tether and
Ooh,
just kind of let myself float. And that I think, you know, like holding on to something that grounds me as a Taurus in the 12th house, like just being like fixed on making sure I have the resources and that connection to the earth. I was getting the message that like, if I let myself float out freely and let go of that tether, that I have the strength to find my way back.
strength,
Yeah.
Taurus, right? That's good.
Yeah, I've got the sun there too, so it was like, you know, this space, this is your space. Like, you don't have to be afraid to float out here in the 12th house. It's an okay place for you to be.
Right. I like that interpretation. That's cool. Thank you. Anne, did you want to share anything you got?
Actually, all morning I've been kind of emotional and weepy and not really sure why. But through the meditation, I just felt this great calm. And actually, I feel kind of energized now.
Woo!
I'm
Awesome.
going to get up and go do something. I've not really, I don't know why, but I was reading things and I would just start crying.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm over it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know what it did, but I feel better.
Okay, we'll take it. That's great. It brought something up. That's great. Shelley, did you want to share anything from your meditation?
Yes. So you remember when we were in Tampa and we did the big trance meditation with
Mhm.
Lisa Williams, and I had a very large past life nun in a monastery, chatting very well. This brought me back to that immediately. I
Whoa.
walked through the door and I felt like I was dropped to my knees, like you're in prayer,
Mhm.
and just this really deep, and I started crying, heavy emotions, and just kept hearing things like just you don't have to fix or save anyone,
Mm.
and it's not your job anymore. And that was kind of what happened before, was trying to save people,
Mhm.
responsible for saving people. So I guess just reminders again of that, and the emotional heavy responsibility
Mhm.
that I felt apparently in a past life, since that's my South Node,
I have like chill bumps all the way
having
through.
to do that. Just a reminder, you don't have to fix or save anyone. You don't have to save them, because that's what I was, apparently that was my responsibility. So
Mhm.
reminder to let that go. And
It's tricky, right? Like, what are you saving them from, and what are you saving them for? And is it because, not you specifically, this is like an
yeah,
esoteric question. Is it like when we people want to save other people, is it because we don't want to lose that person, or don't want to leave somebody behind, or we don't have faith that there is a savior, a God figure, a source that will do that? Do we have our own trust issues? Like, it brings up a lot of questions for me. So I think it's a really interesting conversation.
yeah. I mean, like, I know when I did the trance meditation, I was physically responsible for saving people.
Right. Yes.
So it was a tangible, not like, I'm trying to fix you psychologically.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
a physical trying to save people because they were in danger. And
Right.
I had to do it because I was in charge, or,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And the guilt, that would come with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot there to explore. And of course, we don't have to live with these things. The point is to not stir the pot and then go everybody off and feel bad. Like, the point is to stir the pot, make it conscious, and be loving to ourselves when these things crop up. Like, oh, there's that nun in me that wants to do that thing, and gosh, I love that girl so much. What a life she had. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
to bring love into that.
Just it's not my job anymore. So I have to, remember to be a little more hands off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that and noticing that, and working on that, and giving myself a break on being responsible for everybody's outcome. Just because I can, because I had that little part of Leo in the 12th house. And I thought it was an INFJ thing where I'm like, I know things, I know how to do it, I can see it. And even my son's like, yeah, I know you're pretty much always right. I'm like, no, like, I don't push that, but
Right. Yeah.
but I'm like, come to me, I can help you. I know I have like this, I feel this intuition or whatever. I just can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to have some restraint and let people work things out. And
True,
hope
because
that they'll come to me for that when they're ready. But
right.
I can't go, butt my way in.
And they're not going to die if you don't this time.
Right.
You
Yes.
know what I mean? There's not the panic of that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, and then Lubna, did you want to share anything that you got?
I so identify with the let's not go fix it, let's hold back. Oh, I feel you, I hear you. I unlike Audrey, I sat, so I opened the door and the universe, but I didn't jump and float. I sat there dangling my feet, observing it all, which was super fun. It's not like I was afraid, it just didn't occur to me to jump.
Launch off.
I I just sat there. My legs were swinging happily and just watching everything happen. One word came to me, which was darkness, which is fine. I'm learning to befriend grief this year, so it's normal to hear from darkness. There were bubbles after that, which is nice. I have no clue why there were bubbles, but bubbles are good. All bubbles are good. I think there were like more soap bubbles than champagne bubbles, but bubbles are good.
Yeah.
And then I saw a suffering child. I don't know why, but that was that. And I was just observing. I did not jump to the rescue. I have no children. I don't know why I saw a suffering child. And I enjoyed the whole process. I think it was a good place to be.
Good.
So thank
Yeah.
you.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I would encourage you to view that child as your inner child, of course, you know. And then is it not okay, Nonika doesn't want to share, it seems like, or ran out of time. Audrey had a turtle in there. And okay, the turtle, right? So turtle represents Mother Earth in a lot of the Native American traditions, Mother Earth. So that might be something that goes along with your Taurus vibe. Turtle has a shell of protection too, so a call to protect yourself in some ways. Maybe your turtle's name is Bubbles. I don't know. We've got some cross-contamination going on with our meditations. I saw a wedding ring, and I had... there's twice that I've helped people find their wedding ring. One, and both of them ended up in divorce. I'll just say that. But I don't know what it meant for me. But I saw both people finding their wedding ring, and how important it was for them to find that because of the symbolism they had and the connection with it. You know, it's a material thing, but the importance of helping people with this like unrequited love type of a thing. Was, I don't know, that's what I saw. I'm not going to try to put it together right now, but that's what I saw on my little path. And symbolic of belonging, maybe. Yeah, right. There's lots of, devotion, commitment issue, like things around those issues. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close our workshop today. I know it was a little bit more serious tone. It goes with our July theme of what we can see in the dark. And so I hope this has inspired you to not be afraid of your 12th house, but to explore it with eyes wide open, and to use some of the tools, right? To go through the self-inventory. How am I really feeling about this? Where does that stem from? Let me put in the chat the article that has all of the questions on it, because I really think we did a pretty thorough job. I would like to update it at some point, but you can just go to the blog. It's called Decisions, and there's a link for it. And if you scroll down, it says self-inquiry questions. And these are the questions that come from human design. They come from recovery. They come from years of talking to older women than myself. They come from different people's moms' advice. And so I think that it's a good place when you're doing a 12th house deep dive study to play with. And if you have questions to add to it, please let me know, because I would love for it to be super thorough, so anybody looking at the resource is like, yes, this is awesome. Okay, I love you guys. Have a good Saturday. Welcome to July. It's going to be great.
Thank you.
See you next time.